Hey guys, welcome back to Pistons Talk Podcast. Happy Friday. I don't think I've ever done a podcast at 1 in the afternoon, but maybe we'll start doing it because I actually like getting the podcast out the way. We are joined by the Pindown Podcast from the Detroit Bad Boys, Blake Silverman, West Davenport. Fellas, welcome back to the show. It's been about 3 months.
Yeah, thanks for having us on again.
Yeah.
We were talking about it before we went on air, but the last time we talked, the team was not in the state that they are now, and we were all wrong about where they would be. So excited to talk about where the Pistons are at heading into the last stretch of this regular season.
Yeah, we couldn't be in a more different spot than when we were back on, right? Because I think that was like November, wasn't it? So now we're sitting here early in March. The vibes are totally different. Hopefully we're not bad luck now. That's our joke on
So,
our podcast.
so I'm the type of person where I go back and look. So I went back and listened to our podcast in November. And the exact date, if you want to know, was November 15th. The Pistons were 6-8 during that time. So the first segment is actually perfect. It kind of rolls into like what we were talking about. So I wanted to ask both of you, what do you think has changed since November with this team? Blake, you want to go first?
Yeah, that's a tough question because I feel like there's so much. Like I think the low hanging fruit is like you get Asar Thompson back. The unfortunate part is you miss Jaden Ivey beginning at the start of the calendar year. Like on floor, the rotations, lineups, and everything is different. But I think overall the biggest thing for me is just they took that time they needed to gel with a new coaching staff, a ton of new veterans, and also your young players just like growing and improving themselves as well. Like Cade Cunningham having those all-star moments, getting named to his first all-star game. And me and Wes recorded our show last night, and we had a great question. I forget who it was from, but about the West Coast trip they had right before Jaden Ivey went down, where he hit that improbable 4-point play against Sacramento. And the person who asked the question just said, like, it feels like that really just sparked the Pistons forward. And I didn't think about it before, but I couldn't agree more with that. I feel like when you're on those longer road trips, it gives the team like more time to be together. And they were like winning games. They won 3 out of 4 on that road trip, and then come back into the start of the year and they hit these crazy hot stretches too. So I think it's basically just like all the time that they've had to gel, whether it's JB Bickerstaff with his team, the players getting used to their new coach, you have a new front office in order, and guys learning how to play off of each other, which they're doing well, and also like not rocking the ship at the trade deadline too. I think is huge. Just adding really by bringing in Dennis Schroeder with and not really giving up anything in return. So overall, I think it's just been pretty steady over the course of the season, which is crazy to say after like the disaster that last year was.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I think we all tend to skate over it because at this point it gets a little bit boring to just every single time we hop on a podcast talk about how amazing Cade Cunningham has been this year. But it bears repeating over and over again. He's been just that good. What's been different since November? I think it's really the leap that Cade really took. You've got I'm going to read off the month by month stats. So when Jaden Ivey's healthy in the month of December, Cade's putting up 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 11 assists. And then Ivy goes down in the month of January. It's almost 28 points, almost 6 rebounds, and about 8 assists, right? And he's been at about that level now since then. I mean, he took a leap once when Jaden Ivey was healthy and helping him out with all the ball handling duties, and you saw his assist numbers really leap up, right? And then when Ivey goes down, he even pops up more on the scoring sheet on every box score every night. So as well, I mean, you can't take too much from plus minus, but in the month of February, he's a plus 14. It's unreal, right? He launched himself into a stratosphere of NBA stardom that frankly we've not seen in Detroit in quite some time. And he's just now established at that point. It's not like he's going back. His month of March so far, I know it's just 3 games, but 27 points, 5 rebounds, and 9 assists. So this is just who he is, right? We've discovered that Cade Cunningham is at least probably all NBA second team. Maybe has an argument for even higher. He's one of the top 15 probably best players in the league right now. And yes, they improved defensively. Yes, the team's really gelling. But if you're looking for like one thing that drove this team to be close to 500 to leaping into contention for the 6th, 5th, 4th seed, it's Cade. It's the leap that Cade took this year.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because like the way they started off the season, it started off 0-4, and I think a lot of people are like, "Oh crap, not again!" Right? Like it kind of goes back in your head, like that PTSD. They get a win over the Sixers, and I'm glad you brought up the West Coast trip because I felt like that was a pivotal trip for them to play some good basketball, beat some good teams. And I think that was one moment. I think the other moment that wasn't a win that really woke them up was the Utah game. Letting Utah go in there, score 50 points in a quarter, I felt like that really changed their mindset of coming out and starting off games strong because for the first maybe 2.5 months of the season, like they were really lethargic. Like game might have started at 7:30. They're not ready to play until like maybe 8:05. But as of late, I can't remember. Like I take notes during the game. It's like 30, 40 point first quarters, like from this team. Like they've completely like kind of the switch the flip. And to your point, Wes, with Cade, like usually you see like progressions with a player. Maybe they'll average, maybe 3 or 4 more points a game. But the way he's just kind of taken a bigger responsibility and it has added more, like I didn't think the development would be this fast, like the growth being this fast. And like it's honestly insane just the steps in development he's taken from last year to this year. Like it's kind of scary. Like this kid is like not even in his prime because I feel like he could definitely take another step in development and get even better. And I think that's really scary if you think about it.
Yeah, 100% too. Like Cade is only in year 4 and basically all of his year 2 was gone for that shin surgery. So it's just incredible. He is like where he is right now. And I know like it's nice to see the Pistons getting some like shine from the national media, even though you don't know like how often those talking heads are like truly watching them. But a lot of them are putting Cade in their like top 10 players across the NBA. Like I think Bill Simmons had him in there. A segment from Nick Wright went viral too. So like I feel like the conversation surrounding Cade over this year just has grown little by little and started out like, is this the year he can be an all-star? And then it was like, okay, with the players that aren't going to be eligible, can Cade squeak into all NBA? And now it's like, is he going to be second team? So it just keeps like the ceiling keeps getting a little bit higher and higher for Cade in real time. And at this point, I don't know, like, I don't think there is really a ceiling for what he can become. And me and Wes were just talking about this too. Like some of these star guards in the East, like Trae Young and Tyrese Halliburton, their playoff runs to the conference finals just came out of nowhere. And like, I don't know, or I should say, I don't think that's going to come for Cade and this young Pistons team this year. But I think a surprise run, like we've seen, like that Atlanta team did, like Indiana did last year, I think it's a whole heck of a lot sooner than I could have ever thought for this team.
Yeah, agreed. And just as like one final, I guess, point to add on to the Cade discussion, Mr. Ray brings up in the chat there, the mainstream media putting players like Scotty, Franz, and Jalen Green ahead of Cade in redrafts. Just think about for a second how not common it is for the best player in a draft class to actually be the number 1 pick. Like if you think about it, it's actually fairly rare. And Cade has firmly established that he is. So how fortunate were the Pistons with all the terrible draft luck that they had, that the one year they do move up, the one year they get it, first overall pick, it's actually the guy that turns out to be the best player in that draft class. and definitively too. There's really not an argument now. I don't even think for Mobley, who I love. So fantastically fortunate. It's so fun to watch.